Hello viewers of TVEC, this is the Mercedes Benz E63 and let's find out if it's better than its rival, the BMW E60 M5. So starting off with the engine, this is the 6.2 liter naturally aspirated V8. Now a lot of people are confused when they see the 6.3 badge when in actuality it's actually the 6.2 badge. So what this engine produces around 518 horsepower and 680 newton meters of torque, which is good for 0 to 60, which is 0 to 100 for all you metric people, which is us, in around 4.5 seconds. Now this is actually a tiny bit faster than the M5, although the M5 has a V10, and that's honestly is my most favorite car that I have ever reviewed and ever driven. But this one, it has a bigger engine displacement because that has a 5 liter V10. This has a 6.2 liter V8, which is actually a chunk bigger, but sadly doesn't have 2 more cylinders, which is actually defeating the purpose of how this is an amazing car. So this is actually Mercedes AMG's first car to actually reach around 500 horsepower, minusing the C63, which was around 415 horsepower.
Now, when you get into the E63, one of the first things that you realize is that it very much feels like it's stuck in 2010. Most car reviewers would see this as a disadvantage because, well, you want your car to sort of age like fine wine over the years. But in retrospect, it does sort of make you feel like you've jumped back to simpler times, better times, times when you press a button and it actually does what it's supposed to, where you felt the button push, sort of like these shifters over here.
So on the interior of this car, I do feel like it is a much older feeling car than the M5 I was in about 7 to 8 months ago. But let's actually give it a start. Well, not really start the engine first, but put on the ignition. So here's your old Mercedes key. Very different to what it is today, people. So like so steering wheel comes down, everything comes on. And actually, let's turn that all the way down. Then right here you can see your very old Mercedes infotainment system. Now this is not a touchscreen, you have to actually control it using buttons over here. The BMW actually felt a lot more newer and felt a lot more premium. As long as you remove the old iDrive system, the BMW actually doesn't look like it's aged at all. This right here is actually aged, but not in a good way or a bad way. It all depends on how you actually look at it. So here you have your heated seat button, which is for the driver's seat. If I actually turn it on, the driver's seat heated seat button. Also your passenger. I don't think cooled seats were an option, but if they were, I'm pretty sure they were a very expensive option, which is probably the reason why this car doesn't have it. So here you have your rear sunshade. If I press it, you can actually hear it going down. Then here is this is a very smart button actually. So this is to actually fold your rear seat headrest for people that are not there for better visibility. So I guess it's not really working. Oh well, after all, this is a decade-old car, so most things are probably not working. And then here's to switch off your parking sensor so that it doesn't really always beep at you. So if you look down here, this is your AC, automatic AC, auto zone. And so actually this is a very interesting button. So this is to turn on your sport mode, although the sport mode is already there, but this is to fully turn off the traction control. And for a car that has over 500 horsepower, all to the rear wheels, you have to be a really let's say interesting person to actually press that button right there. So this button right here is your suspension button, so to make it firmer or harder. And then right here is your AMG button, which firms things up even more and gives you a louder exhaust note. Just to show you how very 2010s Mercedes this is, just look at this gauge cluster right now, people. So you have your tachometer on the right, which just shows the 6.3 liter V8 badge, going all the way to 8,000 RPMs, which revs all the way to around 6,500 RPMs. Then right there you have your engine temperature, and right in the middle is your speedometer, which is very useful for a car that travels this fast and this quick to actually know how fast you're traveling. So yeah, also on your left, that is your clock. Not many Mercedes models do that today, but it's just good to see that it's actually just working and it's functioning. Considering this is a very old German car, you expect things to be broken by now. And then over here is your fuel gauge, which is very tiny. As you can see, Mercedes didn't really care about fuel economy, which is why they gave you such a little fuel gauge. So let's actually move into the back seat right now.
Since this is an E-Class, we actually have to check how practical it is, and sitting in the back here, you actually have a lot of space. Now, the seat is configured not really to how Eugene sits, but sort of like someone slightly taller and with a slightly larger back, so someone around maybe 6 foot tall. And I have perfectly enough leg room back here, but I do have to say I am 5'8", 5'7", so it's not very roomy, if I should say that. But one great thing about this is that you actually feel very comfortable. It feels like you're sort of cocooned in a nice leather and wooden space. It really feels nice, except for the fact that there's a whole lot of plastic in here, like with these cup holders, which don't even come out like this. You sort of have to do a weird maneuver to close them up like that, and then to open them up you have this weird place where you pull on, and then you move them up, you push this button over here, they come out over that, like that, and then you close. And that's how you get your cup holders out in a 2010's Mercedes E63.
Of the boot capacity. So in comparison to like the M5, I actually gotta say this is a tiny bit more roomy. So you got your cargo net right here. I'm not actually gonna remove it because then something might snap and something might break. And you got your warning triangle right here for if you break down, since after all this is a Mercedes, you never know what goes on. So let's actually put some things into here. As usual, we're going to use our equipment to actually just to describe to you people how practical this car is. So, pretty practical. And let me actually try get inside. So, as you can see, it's pretty roomy if you actually want to actually kidnap one.
And it's very good for, you know, keeping someone in the back over here. But the most important feature of the back of the car is, of course, the 4 pipes. Because this is an E63 after all. It's not a performance AMG Mercedes if it doesn't have 4 pipes. So, that's been the E63. What's your verdict?
It is pretty acceptable. Let's actually start it so that you guys can hear it. People, as you can see, we finally got the test drive right here. What I can feel like is actually a pretty long car, if you think about it, because the bonnet is just so long there, so you have to be really cautious sometimes when you're driving this car. But I actually want to give a shout out to the guy in back who gave us this test drives. This is Tyrone. He works at Auto Corp. Tristan Tyrone. All that fuss. The best looking guy over there.
There we go.
The best looking guy over there. He hooked us up with this test drive, and yeah, let's get on to this wonderful review. So we're going down.
Yeah, just keep going.
That sound is amazing, yo. That sound is hella amazing. Not gonna accelerate because there's too many cars right now. Alright, dog, how does it feel? Like off the ride?
On the passenger side, it's
Yeah.
really good. It's what you expect from an E-Class, basically.
Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Not too bad, not too jittery.
You can still feel the road though.
Let's go feel the road.
Yeah, in terms of, it's not quite like a E500.
Well, the wheels are big. Are you recording?
Yeah.
Well, the wheels are big, so you do get that noise coming in. And I do not exaggerate when I say that is a very pointed stuff.
Am I able to point out a few things for you?
Yep.
So, the E-Class was designed, the E63 was designed for one of 2 reasons. A, comfort for its passengers,
Yep.
so you will always have comfort. But B, the 63 is designed for one thing, and that's high performance. So whenever you get a high performance vehicle, you sacrifice a lot of comfort.
Yeah.
So that's why you'll see, I mean, a car like this with this big engine, big body, you'll feel a lot of turbulence, but the acceleration will be absolutely phenomenal.
That was phenomenal.
There we go.
That was phenomenal.
And you'll see you can play around. You've got your adjustable suspension there to stiffen it. So
Yeah.
what they will do will help create more of a sports ride. So your turns you can handle at a lot quicker paces, and everything about the car becomes a lot harder. But that's because at a higher speed you want more control over the car.
Yeah, I can feel the road even more because like the suspension is doing this a bit more. But that response, that Mercedes response is unbelievable. Okay, in comparison to the M5, this is it responds more. Let me just say that.
It's much more responsive.
It's much more responsive. Although that had like a V10, a naturally aspirated V10, but there's just something about this sort of engine.
Which M5 did you compare it to?
The E60 M5.
E60.
Yeah.
That's still with that old auto box.
Yeah, that gear track. Ooh, yeah, this guy. And those brakes are good. So the parachute. So as you can see, people, this is a very, very fast car. You really have to know what you're doing. At least like I have driven an M5 before and a Nissan GTR, but for this car the M5 is the more of the well-known competitor. But the paddle shifters feel amazing, as you can hear, just downshifted there for me. It really is responsive. It really is responsive. That I can give. I'm in third gear. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I can see.
I can see.
No, because I couldn't really see because like the gears are all the way down here, so you can't really see much. Oh, that engine. And those engine pops, they just sound amazing. Yeah, it really is a faster gear shifter. I think it's an old multi-clutch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Are you still recording?
Well, the one problem that a lot of car reviewers, especially around this time, had with these type of gearboxes was just around-town driving. So, what's your opinion on it?
On right-hand driving?
Around town, just
Around town driving.
Yeah.
It's honestly comfortable because after all, it is an E-Class. So you do get the luxuriousness of an E-Class first, and then you get the performance next of an AMG. This is what driving is about. Just that's what it's about. Shifting, just like that. It really is amazing. You really can't get cars like this anymore. I mean, this car will go up in price very, very soon. Because now I'm pretty sure you've heard that Mercedes have put a twin-turbo 4-cylinder in a C63, and the only V8 options that you still have is in the AMG GTs. Yeah, the AMG GTs and the E63 and maybe the S63. But apart from that, these engines are just such a dying breed, especially with this one, because this one will honestly be hailed as like the greatest. It will be literally be hailed as the greatest. We're going here?
Yeah, left here. Well, the 63 range is becoming one of the most iconic Mercedes Benz range from a collector's perspective as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the 63s were always iconic because of its performance.
Yeah.
Now you're getting into a stage where you own one, you keep one, you maintain one, and in a few years later, you've actually started to make money on your car. Where most cars you buy now stage, you drive out the lot and you've lost money.
Yeah. No, especially with this car. So this car has about what, 80-something thousand kilometers on it.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect car. Really.
It's a perfect car.
It's gonna be worth a lot more than what it is right now. So you could,
I mean,
maybe just get a really good bargain on this car.
for 400,000, you are getting a magnificent car.
Yeah.
For 400, that's literally the same price as like a new Cherry, and you're getting this.
Well, in a few years, this will probably be worth a lot more money.
I mean, any car, so every car's got a depreciation time and depreciation
It's a
value.
very long car. I'm not gonna take chances.
However, when it comes down to a 63, same thing. I've just sold 6 months ago. Sold an SL63, sold an SLS. All of those from its original price skyrocketed.
Yeah, one last acceleration. I had to do that. Okay,
And you can just pull it right here.
Yeah.
Right, here we are.
Here we
Autocorp. Just outside Douglasdale, between Douglasdale and Fourways. We're on Vetkoppen Road, and you can get this magnificent car for, well, under R500,000 rand. It's not going to stay at that price for long, probably appreciate soon.
Yeah.
So come on down while you still can.
And speak to Tristan, only Tristan, otherwise, you know, coming for you guys.
Merry Christmas, people. See you next year. Literally burning. Well, there's no flaming.
Classic 2000s Mercedes.
It's
There's smoke coming out of the
there's
brakes.
smoke coming out of the brakes. But it makes sense because it's a very heavy car. It's a very heavy car.